Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University.
Namaskar, I Devarshi Modi welcome you all on behalf of Department of English at Dr. Babasaheb Ambedkar Open University's YouTube platform. Dear friends, so far we have dealt with various forms of poetry as we are looking at poetry paper from the third year BA, and currently we are going to see metrical romances, dramatic monologue, and limerick. In the previous lectures, we have seen various other forms of poetry such as epic, ballad. Dear friends, it's very important in order to remember all these forms, their various features, their metrical composition, and the famous ballads, epics, metrical romances, dramatic monologues, and limerick. We keep revising all the things said on this platform. Let us start with metrical romance, another form of poetry. What is metrical romance? Metrical romance is another form of narrative poetry. It resembles with epic. This genre include verse stories told in Romance languages that are descendants from the Latin, such as Spanish, Portuguese, French, Italian, Romanian, Catalan, which deals with the themes of chivalry, adventure, magic, and love. Later on, the genre began to include similar stories written in English too. This form was very popular form in the Middle Ages till the 19th century. Geoffrey Chaucer's The Knight's Tale from the Canterbury Tales, composed in the 14th century, is one of the famous example of metrical romance. How can we forget the Orlando Furioso by Aristo, Edmund Spenser's The Faerie Queene, and Tennyson's The Idylls of the King. Friends, as we have talked about the metrical romances, now we are going to see next form of poetry, which is dramatic monologue. A dramatic monologue is the name given to a particular type of poem in which a single person who is not the poet narrates his experiences or shares his innermost feelings. It is an objective poetic analysis of a subjective point of view. It was most popular during the Victorian era, and how can we forget the Robert Browning, who was the chief exponent of the dramatic monologues. In dramatic monologues, the speaker reveals his characters through his monologue. It is not to be confused with the soliloquy of the drama. In soliloquy, a character gives voice to his inner thoughts and feelings in order to make the things more appealing. Say for example, Hamlet or the Iago, in which the characters, soliloquies, present their ideas. So do remember, the soliloquies are not to be confused with monologue and vice versa. In soliloquy, a character gives voice to his inner thoughts and feelings. It is a device used by the dramatist in general in order to make the audiences understand a complex characters like Hamlet or the Iago. How can we forget the famous soliloquy of the Hamlet? To be or not to be, that is the question. The soliloquy is not made to be heard by the other characters in the play. In a dramatic monologue, the speaker addresses one or more auditors whose presence is indicated to us through the poem. Now let us see several features of the dramatic monologue. A dramatic monologue has all the elements of drama, such as plot, character, dialogue, and setting. Yet, it is one of the form of poetry and not a drama, as it is meant to be read and not performed on the stage. A single person in the dramatic monologue is who is not the poet utters the whole poem. The speech is uttered by the speaker at some critical moment. For example, Browning's Fra Lippi, the trunk mon is caught by a watchman, and the monologue is Monk's explanation. The Duke in Browning's My Last Duchess is negotiating with an emissary for another bride after having killed his last wife. In Alfred Lord Tennyson's Ulysses, the aged hero uttered monologue just before he embarks upon his very last voyage. The presence of other characters whom the speaker addressed is indicated only through the words of the speaker. For example, in My Last Duchess, the Duke says, "That's my last Duchess painted on the wall." "Well, please, you sit and look at her." In Ulysses, the presence of the sailor is indicated when Ulysses utters, "Come, my friends, 'tis not too late to seek a newer world." The setting and the background are also indicated by the speakers. Thus, we know we are in the place Thus, we know that we are in the palace of a duke in Browning's poem. In Tennyson's dramatic monologue, Ulysses evokes a vivid picture of his kingdom, and later we know we are at the seashore when he declares, "There lies a port, the vessel puffs her sail, there gloom the dark broad sea." So we have discussed several features of the dramatic monologues. Now we are going to dive deep into the next form of poetry, and that is limerick. Limerick is a short and a humorous, sometimes bawdy, poem consists of 5 anapasti. What is anapest? Anapest is the rhyme scheme. Anapest is a meter, unstressed, and the stressed syllables are there in the anapestic meter foot. The rhyme scheme is AA, BB, A. The oldest recorded limerick is a 13th century Latin prayer by Thomas Aquinas, while the oldest English ones date to the early 18th century. The origin of the name of this form is obscure, and there are several theories about the same, one being that it is a reference to the Irish town of Limerick. The English poet Edward Lear popularized the form in his collection A Book of Nonsense, published in 1846. Let us see an example of this famous collection by Edward Lear from the Book of Nonsense. There was a young lady whose chin resembled the point of pin. So She had it made sharp and purchased a harp and played several tunes with her chin. Friends, as you can see on your screen, here the rhyme scheme of this entire stanza is A, A, B, B and A. Thus, we can say here we find that this particular type of poem is Limerick. So here with this note, we end our discussion for today. But do remember, we have discussed three major types of poem again today. The first one was metrical romances, second was dramatic monologue, and the third one is Limerick. In the previous lectures, we had the discussion over epic and the ballad, again one of the major forms of poetry. And today we have seen three major forms of poetry: metrical romances, dramatic monologue, and Limerick. So far, throughout this series of forms of poetry that we have seen so far, keep revising them in order to remember them. Keep watching the videos again and again. Keep recalling them. Keep jotting down the famous examples. Keep learning. Till then, take care. Thank you very much.
स्वाध्यायः परमम्